The guys older than me are bigger legends in my head than guys you play with in the NFL, whether Hall of Famers. And the recruiting trip, you got in the back of his like old Buick, he's smoking a cigarette, and he turns around, and he's like, "Are you tough? If you're tough, I could do something with you. If you're not, you can't." It's the last game ever in Veterans Stadium. We lose the game, and towards the end of the game, the Philadelphia riot cops come out, like ringing the field, and police on horseback. And I'm thinking we really might not make it out of here alive.
This is Jessfor30, focusing on veterans affairs, on sports-related superstars, music and film-related superstars, and he's had them all here. This guy's a legend, Jessfor30.
Hi, I'm Ron Jess with Jessfor30 Sports and Entertainment. Happy to welcome Catholic Central Football, class of 1999, All-State, All-American, Hall of Fame, Boston College class of 215, Hall of Fame, 3 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 years with the Carolina Panthers. Back here in Michigan today, he flew in from Maryland, giving back to the kids at Catholic Central at yesterday's football camp. And great to welcome Doug Brzezinski.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you came. We've been talking for 6 months, I guess. You're not the record. It was 2 years. I chased it. 2 years.
Yeah.
You finally just wanted to get it over with.
Well, it was fun doing this stuff. It's just when you have like kids and like work and stuff like that. But I love doing this kind of stuff.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably done 1,000 of them, Doug.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's amazing how quick some of those young kids, they turn into young men at Catholic Central. And just last month, we had 1 in a million Jaden Pyden.
Okay.
Now, Jaden, he 3 days after our talk, he drove out with his parents to West Point.
Okay.
That's pretty special.
Yeah, West
Doug.
Point's big deal.
Yeah. This kid is off the charts. You were saying the trophy he got at CC was.
I want to say it's the Scanlon, and I sometimes mix it up with whatever the award was at Boston College.
Yeah,
but it's like the big one. Yeah, the big award.
Yeah, it's like scholars, athlete,
Was
and,
it the Father Whalen?
citizen.
It's a Father Whalen Award.
Whalen,
That's
it.
The BC was a Scanlon one.
Yeah, but that, I mean, to have him on, I was talking with you earlier. Jaden is he's talk about dedication. He's a baseball. He's going to play baseball and football.
Okay.
There, he's a halfback and a defensive back.
Okay.
And a pitcher.
Right. Yeah. West Point's like it's awesome seeing them in Navy kind of like having a resurgence in football, because I don't know if you've ever been to an Army Navy game. It's awesome. It's like the atmosphere is great. But
we were going to go last year, my wife and I, but the tickets I think were like $1,200, as high up in the stadium as you could go.
It's no joke, but it's fun seeing defense contractors as sponsors, because they got like big tanks in the parking lot and stuff like that. It's awesome. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you living out? Yeah, I mean, you live close enough. You're really close to Annapolis. In Maryland, there.
Yeah, we play the state championships there for football. State championships in WCAC, so they always play at over at Navy Stadium.
No, we've been in there. We've been in there recently.
It's cool.
It is very cool. We both know as the years go by, Doug, our lives are about way more than football.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and that's something where I think I can go on my sports industrial complex rant, but I feel like with sports, there's so much more to learn with sports, and I can't tell you like how many lessons you learn from doing those things as a kid that you translate into the real world. I remember like at CC with Coach Mack, it was the first time you heard like the magic is in believing, or what the mind can't conceive, the body can't achieve, and then about persistence. And you're a 13-year-old kid who shows up and you just don't know. You think you know what's cool, and you have no idea how people got where they were. And then he puts into your head that maybe if you put one foot in front of the other and set a goal, you might be able to accomplish that goal. And you take that mindset and you kind of apply it to everything else in life, So that's something where I think that sometimes is what's lost with sports and a lot of youth sports, because you see there's proliferation of camps and like all these different things, and it's always like kids become Excel spreadsheets. There's a lot more intrinsic value to what they bring, and there's a lot more value to what sports can offer you other than what you can just write down on a piece of paper.
No question. And Life Beyond. And, I heard a lot from Mark Mester. I mean, how lucky could he be? He had Coach Tom Mack, and then he had Bo Schembechler. I mean, that's like winning the lottery twice.
100%. Yeah, Schembechler, I remember we went to one of their spring games, and I got to meet him. He's awesome. Yeah, he's a legend.
Mark, one of his comments during our video was that I couldn't believe he came out to Heartland, and I had just come back from UCLA. I was going there. I was telling my parents I was going there, and he said, "Hey, we pulled in our driveway, and this old Buick is there, and Lloyd Carr, I think, jumps out one side, Bo out the other, and he's got a VHS tape." And Mark, I know Mark's words, what he said. He said he slammed that VHS tape right in my chest, and he said, "You're a Michigan man."
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right, and that's what's awesome about recruiting back then. They got old, like beat up Buicks. They're not like nothing crazy, but that's what I love about like Michigan and Midwest. It's like blue collar. Yeah, nothing fancy. Just seem to get the job done.
Doug, one of the other things he said to Mark while he was standing there, he said, Mark said on that, he said, "I couldn't believe how a guy 5'8", 150 could scare the bejesus out of me."
Right. Oh yeah. A certain magnetic personality, as they like to say.
Yeah, he had it. So you grew up in Livonia, Michigan.
Correct. Yep.
We were in Redford Township, neighbors. I was quite a bit older than you, I think, but it was a good place to grow up.
Yeah,
Livonia.
it's nice. It's like normal people. Say hi, please, and thank you. If you're going the wrong way, you just turn around and go the other way. And then the best. My two favorite things in Livonia are Bates Burgers. Mm-hmm. I worked there in 7th and 8th grade, and then you had Handy Dip ice cream down the street, and that's like still the best hamburgers I've ever had. Still the best ice cream I've ever had. And those little things are just stick with you because you go other places and you measure it against it, and it's like it's not the same,
Well, I know you're Polish, but you had Canteros right there between 7 and 8 on Middle Belt near the Livonia Mall.
Yeah,
we go there. We still go there for the Italian.
Yeah.
I mean, they're original.
Okay, we didn't do a bunch of Italian stuff, and I've found a bunch of Italian in Boston and Philly, and then out where we live, there's a place called the Kielbasa Factory in Maryland, and I feel if you ever want to take down the Eastern mob, show up there on like Easter and Christmas because it looks like something out of John Wick. It's great. It's awesome. Yeah,
I love that stuff. I mean, just love those movies. To Kill an Irishman, the Danny Green movie.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
I
movie?
haven't.
Oh my God, that's They tried to blow him up 10 different times.
I'm going to have to watch it.
Oh, you watch that one. That is spectacular.
Okay.
He was Irishman, and he'd go down in the shipyards. He just took over the Union because the guy running it was a douche.
Right.
And he walked in he was sitting in his chair, and this guy comes in the suit and tie, and there he is in his blue jeans and shirt and a flannel shirt or something.
Right.
And he's just sitting there. And he says, "You're done." There were a few pops in the head,
Right.
And that was great. So, how about your mom and dad, Doug?
So they both passed away. My dad passed away, about when my daughter was 2, so about 13 years ago. And my mom, I want to say about 6 years ago. And my dad passed away suddenly here in Michigan. And then my mom, she moved into Maryland, so she was able to see the kids and things like that. And,
nice.
So that's the thing. It's like it's sad when your parents die, but I always feel like if you always tell the people you love them while they're here, you're sad that they're gone, but you don't have regrets. You just don't want to leave anything on the table, like about how you tell people how you feel about them.
No question. So brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother that lives in Oregon. I talk to him every once in a while, just doing the van life thing. Went to Duke and just.
The van life?
It's a free spirit.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. It's crazy up there. Yeah. Rains every day. I would never live up in it. We've been there a few times. Yeah. I'll take snow over rain.
Yeah, I agree. Except you don't have to shovel rain. That's the difference. Yeah.
Doug, where'd you go to school as a kid?
I went to St. Edith.
Oh, did you?
For Catholic elementary school, and then I went to Frost Middle School for 7th and 8th grade. And I remember coming out of 7th and 8th grade. I was not a bad kid, but kind of getting into like a little bit of just normal mischievous trouble. My dad's like, "You're going to Catholic Central." I'm like, "I don't want to go to Catholic Central." And then, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Now you went on Novi or Breakfast Drive or
This was at Redford. Yeah, at Redford. Yeah, when it was Breakfast Drive. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. Before practice, we have to walk the field to pick up bottle caps or any broken glass and all that sort of stuff. But it was great. I loved it. Yeah.
I've heard stories about Tom Mack, and I got to actually see him the same week I had Justin Sasante on the show. Coach Sasante, he's phenomenal job. He's like, you see, could be his son, but he's already got 2 of his sons on the staff. But Coach Mack, I've heard through a few of the older guys that he'd probably rather coach then than now. This is not his thing, and he'd have they'd be playing you guys would be playing in the mud, and they'd have to put car lights on the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
At night, we'd have the parents to turn the car lights on. So you could see what's going on.
That
it was
cool.
Yeah. It was different. And it's funny, like generationally, things just change, and it's interesting to hear the last generation was softer, this generation's tougher. And I think it's funny, like back in the day, I think it was like Aristotle was complaining about people writing stuff down because the youth just write stuff down now and doesn't memorize everything. So it's been forever that people have been complaining about this generation. It's usually it's not us, it's them. That's what I found out.
No, I agree. I mean, we love our grandkids, and they're just great. I had a priest on here, a Catholic priest from St. Agatha, great guy, Father Brian Shabala, and he brought up this thing about these kids today that it was kind of like not complimentary. I said,
Right.
Listen, I said, you're talking about a war or something, but because if something breaks out, I'll tell you right now,
Right.
the cream goes to the top no matter what.
Yeah, there's differences.
They'll lead, and they'll do what they got to do.
Yeah, you just kind of rise to whatever occasion it is. And I had my old guy moment. I was working at Walter Reed for it was in medical sales, and I went downstairs, and there's a bunch of the Navy corpsmen down there getting trays. I'm grabbing trays from SPD, and they're listening to some music, and I go to this kid like, "What is this crap you're listening to?" And the kid who's 18, he's like, "What do you know? What are you, 40?" And I had an awesome comeback, but I realized at the time I was 45, and I'm complaining about kids and their music. It's not them, it's me. It's
Yeah.
like here we are becoming like a caricature of myself, sort of thing.
Well, it's funny how that happens. I had a good one. The grandson plays lacrosse, Austin, and we had been golfing at Lakeland here, nice club here in Brighton. Then we went to Chowamichi's.
Right.
Also, he's kind of raised where the kid likes good, big, nice things. So the most expensive restaurant in Brighton. So we go down a little Italian restaurant. So then I think I'm going to be funny. I drop him off at lacrosse later in the day out in Heartland, and I take him and I see him. He's playing around, getting ready with his buddies, and there's a couple kind of cool-looking kids, longer hair with him, and he's 12, and he's got real short hair, and he wants to go to CC, but I think I'm going to be funny, so I take out. I said, let's see. So I walk up to the 2 kids that like 10 feet away, and I said, hey, anybody seen Austin? He left his Old Spice in my car. No, and ultimately I ended up looking like a jerk. When one of the long-haired kids goes, he looks at me, looks at Austin, he goes, that's your papa? He goes, yeah. He goes, awkward moment.
Oh yeah.
I go,
okay, I like to call it like on Instagram. It's like the cringe try not to unfollow challenge. That's like I often do that. I just make it awkward. You know what I mean?
Awkward's good. You know, because you remember awkward stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll say something I think is funny, and I'll say a joke for one party of Doug, but nobody laughs. Because I think I'm giving them gold, but everybody just gives me like dead eyes. I'm like, I guess nobody.
It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
To me, it was.
Yeah.
We get that. My wife, I'd say it's Irish humor, and sometimes our Irish humor, it's biting.
Yes,
and it doesn't seem biting to me. I grew up with it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it's funny, girl. In Michigan, everybody's sarcastic, but they're good people. And I'm like, you need to learn sarcasm to deal with being stuck inside with your family 8 months out of the year. I remember when I was a little kid. I think I was maybe 5, and my uncle took me to the Dearborn pool, and we're there diving, and like someone around there. We go to leave. And he pulls out of the parking lot, and this car almost hits us. And he goes like, "Nice turn, a-hole." You know, and I said, "Why did you say nice turn? He almost hit us." And he goes, "It's called sarcasm." And then from that point on, like a switch flipped in my head. Like, got it.
Really, you got it.
Yeah.
You know while you're doing it, it comes out of your mouth, and you go,
Oh yeah, it's like 90% of my social interactions. You feel like Homer Simpson. It's like the voice in the back of your head's like going, "Don't say it." And you're like, "Oh,
yeah, why did I do that?"
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Let's just jump into that. You're going to Joe Walsh's house here, and our family grew up a block from there. We used to play catch with their dad, Rich Walsh Sr., at his golf gas station a block from our house.
Yeah.
We're on Glenmore.
Oh yeah,
7 Mile there.
Yeah, it's
right
all,
there.
yeah. Well, Joe always had cool cars. He had a Buick Regal that was like souped up. We used to call it the Regulator.
Yeah.
And then we were going to a CC. What was it, like we used to do these things on Friday nights, like a team function. I forgot what they're called. And then he rear-ended me accidentally. He got so mad he slammed the door and all the window broke in his driver's side and all that sort of stuff. But he had his mom's cookies, which we always wanted, so we made sure to take the cookies, and Walsh took care of the car.
Yeah.
And then after that, he had a Citation, which had holes in the floorboards, but it was great because I think it was front-wheel drive. But it was a Citation, like a Dodge Citation, but you could go over snowbanks with it. So he was just drive all the way. It was fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The Walshes are great. You know? We did a burger night for the Knights of Equity at 5 and Beach at the AOH Club.
Yeah.
A few months ago, we raised $22,000 for St. Christine's Soup Kitchen.
Okay.
I'm going to get a plug because it's open there.
Right.
But his mom and dad, Rich and his wife, I can't remember her first name.
Diane.
Yeah, Diane.
Yeah.
They were there. They come. They support us.
Yeah.
And I call them. They put me in charge of what I can do: cut the onions, and for 300 people, and get ads.
Right.
It's. People are going, "How can you sell all those ads?" I said, "I know. You want to know how I sell them? I call them. I say, 'Hey, Ron Jess, we need ads for St. Christine for the soup kitchen. We want one for 150, 250, 500. What do you want?'"
Right.
It's not will you or please.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's easily done.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, but it's fun like having friends like that, like Walsh, Eric Seidel, Joe Pongras, Nick Kalis are guys that we're always friends with growing up. And it's fun just being in touch with all those guys. I have a buddy back home in Maryland who's 30. And I was talking to him about when I was coming out here. I'm like, I've known Walsh longer than you've been alive. Have been friends with these guys since, for a long time. And it's great having those relationships and having those friendships.
That's a real family there.
Yeah.
The Walshes. I saw his grandpa work himself to the bone there, and they're working on those cars November, December.
Oh yeah.
There's no light to be made of that. That's hard work.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's funny when they did the I did the Lions HBO thing on the Lions. You know what I mean? And they're talking about the blue collar and all that sort of stuff. And I'm in Maryland. I'm like, this is just how we grew up. It's like your dad tells you to go rake the lawn, do whatever. You just did what you did. You didn't like doing any of it, but it's just, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah. Get out there. We had a push mower right on up the road there.
Yeah.
I mean, a push mower, a real one.
Yes.
And the grass was getting long and it was wet, Doug.
Oh yeah,
that was work, dude.
Yeah, I'm not mowing lawn anymore. I'm all right.
There was no gas in that. You were the power.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
that
just keep your fingers out of there.
Yeah. We had 4 brothers, and you're always fighting at who didn't have to cut that grass, but it was good. What about Justin Sassante? Back to him for a minute.
Right.
Coach of the year in Michigan. We saw him about 4 times this year and played, and he does it. He is like Tom Mack in a lot of ways, isn't he? He's driven, and he's got the Lead Foundation in Brighton.
Yep.
He helps kids, and he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and I think that it's like each coach for their time. Coach Mack was perfect for the time he played in, and I wouldn't be here if it, for the time he coached. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Coach Mack. He taught me culture, taught me it's one of those things. You could have whatever plays you want to have, but everybody has to buy in. And I know with Justin, the great thing about Justin is that as things evolve and things get into a modern era, Justin understands he wants to bring CC to a national program. And I think you have that foot of like the Dearborn blue collar work hard mentality, but has a smart entrepreneurial spirit and has a vision of where CC and he wants to take it. Same with him and Babbitts, who's the AD. Like they both are guys that have their roots in blue collar, fundamental, lunch pail guys, but they have like a broader visionary idea of where they want CC to go. And it's great seeing the CC community come around them and give them the opportunity to do those things. And it's interesting where it's a shame, not to get too far into stuff, but like how, like with Michigan high school sports, they don't allow these guys to play a national schedule. Like this is a national program. Like when they played Belleville in that game, like coaching in Maryland, like we play a national program, but we knew about that game, but they don't allow them to go showcase what CC is. And I think in some ways it kind of hamstrings all of Michigan football because there's a lot of guys coming out of here. And I think that in some ways it restricts what Michigan athletics has to offer. And I think these guys are doing a great job of working hard and showing, sticking to their roots of like CC teach me good, this discipline and knowledge, but at the same time, they have a vision of where they want to go, and they're perfect for where they are. I mean, I can't tell you how amazed I was. We did that youth camp on Friday. It was awesome. I mean, it felt just like the old CC, but it just has new skin on it. It's a great thing to be a part of.
No, I get that 100%. My grandson asked me on the way out the door about if I'd be with him Monday when he walks through. He's doing the tour at the new Novi. But the football camp yesterday was, besides you and Justin, great guys. You had, Michigan and NFL great John Jansen. You had Jeff Wiska from Michigan State to the NFL like you. Yep. And Jeff and I are good friends. But who were some of the other former NFL players that were there yesterday? Were there more?
There was a bunch, and I'm terrible with that stuff. Like I know Jansen, because we played in the high school All-Star game together. And my favorite memory of that is we went and saw True Lies. Like we had like a night where we had some time off, and we saw True Lies. It was one of awesome. It was an awesome experience. And then there's Chris Koye who played over there.
I remember
and
him.
I'm blanking on some names, but it's
there's probably that guy Shoeless or Shoelaceless from Michigan, the quarterback. Was he there?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. He's I can't remember his name.
And there was another guy,
Denard Robinson.
Denard Robinson was there. There's another guy who coaches at CC who played at Michigan. He's a quarterback coach, and there was a guy that I think Shane. He played at Ferris State with Chris, and then played for Atlanta for a little while, and I think some other place I forget. But it's just nice being around those guys, and it was great seeing the people you remember from back when. Because I remember being in high school with John, and we're just high school kids. And you see him later on, and now he has kids, I have kids, and it's just fun talking about, just having kids.
Where did he go to high school?
I think he went to, Howell? I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm terrible.
No, that's all right.
He's going to kill that screwed up.
No, Bryce Underwood, that quarterback for Belleville, the last 3 games, Howell beat him, and then he won a game, then he lost to CC. Yeah. And Michigan gives him $12 million, and it's like, oh my God.
That's crazy.
Through that Barstool Sports.
Portnoy,
Portnoy.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to love that guy.
Yeah.
He's a trip. I was walking out the door, and the grandson's holding a piece of pizza up. They said, "You want some, Pop?" I don't have time. And he's doing, there's a little drop. It's dropping. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like the pizza slice thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. But you're helping mentor the kids, and that's really that's probably. You get more out of it than them in a lot of ways, don't you? I mean, that's old story about.
Awesome. The first time I ever got a 3-point stance was Coach Mack's Westside football camp when I was going into my freshman year. I had no idea what anything was. And I remember being clueless because I liked football because I liked Dungeons and Dragons. I liked this game Warhammer 40,000. I did like Conan the Barbarian, all that sort of stuff. That's why I love that sort of stuff. Like a nerdy kid, not athletic. And I was like, this is as close as you get to wearing armor and doing that stuff. But then you show up and people are yelling at you. And on this side of the ball, you move when the ball is snapped. But this side of the ball, you have to wait till he says the words. And you're just, it's a mess. And so I love coaching kids. I'm like, it's all right to be totally clueless because this stuff doesn't make sense the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
And then you just start talking to kids like, we started talking about that movie Minecraft, and they have, Jack Black has his songs, Steve's Lava Chicken song. Have you heard that? It's all, ask your grandson about it. It's
Yeah,
like this little
I'll have
song.
to.
And so we start doing that stuff, and I just forget that I'm like a 49-year-old man and not like a 12-year-old kid. So we start going down rabbit holes.
I see how that. I had a guy on that was paralyzed last week,
Right.
but it was Frank Erlinger, and he was a big-time businessman in Detroit. He supervised Ford Field being built.
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden he falls out of bed one day. He's completely paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow.
And he was talking about how like a couple days before, he was in the kitchen and he took some ketchup and he sprayed it on his hand and he had the knife and he called his kid over, his 12-year-old, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding," you know. But then he falls out of bed and he's screaming for him, and the kid's going,
This is
"Really?
real." Yeah.
But I said to him, I said, "Hey, you know, you're talking to a guy who a couple weeks ago bought a fart machine.
Right.
So, whatever."
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. There's not. That's the best thing about having kids is embarrassing them and taking advantage of their trust in you. That's the most fun. Yeah.
Doug, what about John Jansen? What do you know about him? Michigan guy, announcer now, famous.
I just well, it's funny because I don't know him as an announcer of the sports stuff. I just realized he did that in town when I talked to him. I'm like, "So what are you doing now?" He's like, "Oh, he does color and all that different thing." And but it was funny because he finished up his career with Detroit, I believe. And I always thought, like, if you're from Michigan and you play for the Lions, are you playing for free? Because now you got to buy all the tickets for all your friends, cousins, uncles, like everybody come out of the woodwork, where it's fun playing at home. But then at the same time, it's like everybody wants tickets and you don't want to be a jerk. And so, like, did you basically play for free? It's like, yeah, I bought a lot of tickets. You know, but,
I'll bet.
But the advantage is after the games, you can go to Bates Burgers. So, you know, it's a trade-off.
Bates, Top Hat, those were all good stuff. Yeah. Well, you, Doug, you at Catholic Central, you had the longest NFL career of anybody, which is pretty incredible for 67 years at the high school.
Yeah.
I know you probably don't want to talk
I think
about
me and
that,
Mike I think Mike had 6. I had 6.
Mike,
Martin?
Oh, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I think he had 6. I think we had both the same.
Okay.
But it was cool. It was like, and it's funny though, with like, you know, the playing there and playing in the NFL, I still look at the guys from my junior year, sophomore year, freshman year. The guys older than me are bigger legends in my head than guys you play with in the NFL, whether they're Hall of Famers. Like, I remember showing up, I think it was freshman year, we won the state championships, and then you had like Chris Barbara and Brian Chaney. I swear they looked like they were 28 years old when they were seniors in high school. And then you get Babbitts and Shahida and all these different guys who you played with then. And they're still in my head, like bigger, you know, like I said, bigger legends than guys that like Brian Dawkins, who's a great player and anything like that. But those guys make an impression. That's something where when I, you know, coach the high school kids at Good Counsel now, I'm like, you understand, this is like where you create like this has got to be bigger than yourself. I'm sure you want to go to college, do all these different things, but this is where you make legends. This is like, and again, I get into old nerdy stuff, but it's like you think about like Beowulf and all these different like heroic ideal stories. It's like ingrained into us as just as people. And I'm like, this is where you make that stuff come true. You can't really go out there and do any. This is where you can slay dragons, you know, I guess metaphorically, but this is where you can do that stuff and people remember.
Well, Mark Messner, I mean, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the Hall of Fame over there. He's also in the College Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yep.
He's done 4 charities. You know, I bust his chops about 2 years, but I've called him for 4 different charities. He's come every time.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's cool. And you see those guys' pictures too. Like, I've never met them, but those are people where you look at like they're not real people. You know what I mean? They're like archetypes that you see up there. They're like, you know, they were there. They went to school before you, but it might as well have been Teddy Roosevelt. They're like historically significant people that you don't really think existed, but they did a big thing.
Well, he likes being called the Aristotle of defensive linemen, or better yet, the ankle biter, because he said I was too slow. I was too. He had a funny story. His first game ever there, he was afraid about jumping up and hitting the flag, and because he said I got a 4-inch vertical. He hits his elbow. He almost falls down, and he says, "Well, we're playing Michigan. We're playing playing Notre Dame. There's 112, 115, whatever they can pack in there. So he goes up and he wanted offense out first. So what do? They kick off defense.
Right.
So out he runs. I was a freshman starting there,
Right.
and he said I went down. And he said I'm just freaking out, ready to go. And he said the guy from Notre Dame's in front of me, and I go down. And he said I threw up all down his arm. And he said the guy just was looking at me. He got by, tackled the guy for a loss, and he said I was good, ready to go.
Funny. That's awesome.
That's a great story, isn't it? Yeah. He told me I knew it, and I said I've never heard it. So it was funny to hear it from him.
There was a guy, Steve Everett, I played with in Philly, big Michigan guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's another guy that I remember as a kid watching them play Notre Dame. And he broke his jaw, and there's like blood pouring through his face mask. And then he came back a couple games later. But he was a guy who was a legend in my mind too. I ended up playing with him in Philly. And he told me a story about when he was in Michigan. I don't know how true this is, but he said like during 2-minute drills, like to mess with Elvis Gerback, he'd pee his pants, and there'd be a TV timeout, and they'd start to go, and he'd go, Elvis, check this out.
No.
And he'd start peeing his pants. He's like, God. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but he's a great guy. I mean, he's awesome. He's a maniac, but he's like a great person, a great guy.
That's amazing. One of the favorite guys on the planet is Messner. Do you guys ever cross paths?
I've never met him. No.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing his picture on the wall just like yesterday with in his Michigan uniform. But
his kids played there, at CC.
Okay. I didn't realize
yeah.
that. That's cool.
Yeah, they did. Who else? Jansen? Did you tell me Jansen's? Oh, Wiskus said Jansen's
son is going there. Yep.
He's a freshman.
Yeah, he's going to be a freshman there.
And your son's going to be a freshman.
But he's going to be. My son's going to be in 8th grade next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. He likes basketball, baseball, football, whatever season it is what we do.
What's his favorite?
I think he likes baseball right now. He's a pretty good pitcher, catcher. Pitcher first and third. And for football, I play center. I think it's one of those things where you don't have to run as much in baseball.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too. He's athletically gifted. Where I wasn't athletically gifted, people they're like, I played football because it was fun. And part of me was like, I played because I talked about D&D, but I played to keep the voices in my head quiet. You didn't have a lot of success growing up, and then somebody tells you a good job at something, you're like, hey, I want more of this.
Yeah. That's always good. That's why wrestling, if you got a hyper kid, we talk about our grandkids, and some are really, really hyper, and let them wrestle for a couple of years, knock that energy out.
Yeah, that'll cool you out a little bit.
Yeah. So you're married, and what's your wife do?
My wife's name's Elise. I met her the first day at Boston College, and we were friends and started dating towards the end. And she's in cybersecurity, and she's from like the DC metro area. And that's how we ended up back there. I found a job there. She's from there, so the two things kind of work together.
And you're working insurance for who?
No, I have medical sales. So I work for a company, Steris, right now, where you sell like surgical tables, lights, booms, OR integration. I have to use like big words, can't swear at work, have to organize my email. So it's cool. Yeah.
My daughter's with Medtronics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Steris are they connected in some way? Because I think I hear her talking about Steris.
Yeah, sometimes Steris sells a ton of stuff. And there's some devices that they'll kind of work together, and some Medtronic stuff we'll use with some of their parts, but they don't directly compete, but it was something where they're like in the same space. And I worked for Stryker for 16 years prior to that. And so it was fun. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a great job.
Yeah, I hate selling stuff, but I like talking to people and learning new things. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. You feel like Tommy Boy at the beginning because you don't know the words.
Tommy Boy.
And then like you wear like a shirt and tie, trying to be professional. I'm sweating through my clothes, talking to the doctor, trying not to swear, mumbling.
Hey, I'm laughing, and Jason's here filming. He's laughing because he does sales. I've been in sales for 40 years. Yeah. I was a pizza maker at the Little Caesars in Redford, $7,000 near Walsh's. And then Mamma Mia's there. Yeah. And then went out and got to be a gunsmith.
Okay.
Down in Fanco. You'd love that. We nickel-plated, gold-plated guns for Detroit cops. And then I was a dental technician for 7 years. Okay. And then my brother was making more money. I said, hey, I'm not making anything. You know, I got to. Yeah. So, and I was like you, man. The four brothers, we'd go sell candy for baseball like in the 60s at $7,000. And they'd be out, and, they couldn't play baseball worth a
Right.
whatever, but they could all sell. And I'd be sitting like in a corner. I don't want to talk to anyone.
Right.
I just want to go play baseball. You know?
We used to have to do the selling candy thing.
Yeah.
I ate it all. Every year I was terrible. Like I would eat the candy and say I sold that, walk around. Yeah, I sold everything. Whereas I don't know where the money is. The one year they were selling chocolate Easter rabbits. And again, I hid some, but being the Polish guy I am, hid it behind my dresser and there's a heat register right there. And they all melted into the carpet.
Oh.
So it's like the world's worst criminal, you know? So that's my history of like candy sales. You know, I'm a better consumer than a salesman.
You were leaving tracks.
Yeah, just terrible. That's like my son. It's I'm like, did you eat the brownie? He's like, nope. And I'm like, dude, listen, I know exactly what's going on in your head, and it's not much. So don't like. I know exactly. It's funny, and it's like great having daughters too, because I'll go talk to her about like what do we need to do, like what's our responsibilities for the day. And ever since she was little, she's like, boop 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 boop.
Yeah.
And no, I saw my son's a smart kid and everything like that, but he'll do knucklehead stuff, and my wife like that doesn't make sense. I'm like, I don't know how to put words to it, but it makes complete sense to me. You know.
Yeah.
Just blunt instruments. Like guys, like, do you have to poop and are you hungry? And that's basically like the expanse of your emotional spectrum. You know?
Is there sleep in there anywhere?
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, that's between those two. You know, that's usually the block. You know.
Doug, Michelle and I were at, we just spent 5 days in D.C. and at the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
So you and I, we flew out to visit a guest we had here on Thanksgiving, and he's our first cousin. His name is Colonel Mike Pearson.
Okay.
A Thurston grad.
Okay.
And too bad we couldn't have met up then, you know. But,
Oh, yeah.
you know, you're pretty close to the academy. I mean, that's a cool town.
It's funny because it's like
Annapolis.
It's like 15 miles from me, 40 minutes. You know what I mean? Here, like 15 miles, 12 minutes. You know? But the Naval Academy is great. I have in medical sales, I worked at Walter Reed, and it used to be Walter Reed and Navy, and then they merged. Mm-hmm. But I'm friends with a bunch of Academy guys, a bunch of surgeons I worked with were, you know, either ex-Navy or Academy, or they enlisted and went to ROTC, so they go to medical school. Like those were some of the best doctors I worked with because they, you know, those guys go overseas, they deal with crazy stuff, they know how to do a bunch with less. And a lot of the guys came from like blue collar, work hard backgrounds, so they're like some of the smartest people you ever met, but they like are not hung up with themselves. You know what I mean? And so there's some of and that's a great thing about going to some of those games is, you know, I'll go with a buddy of mine, Dave Schroeder, who's an Academy grad from Navy. Then we'll go to the Army Navy game, but you meet all these different friends and all different things, and it's cool. The amount of history that's there is amazing. And then same thing with West Point. I have friends who a friend of mine's son just graduated from there, graduated from Ranger School. Wow. And prior to that, all I knew of West Point is I remember we played them at Boston College and we lost like 69-14. And they had like, I'm like, because they, you know, do all the option stuff and great team, but I'm like, they had like 6 mascots, you know, and then when the quarterback comes out with his face mask, has a bullhorn on, and he's wearing a cowboy collar, and my chances are they're probably not going to throw the ball too much. You know? So,
but you guys had Doug Flutie, right?
I mean, but that was way back when. Like,
he's probably my age.
Yeah, and I was like, it's like the thing is, you know, because BC football, it's up and down, and I think they're in the right direction now with Coach O'Brien, what they have going on over there. But I always remind people, like, you're welcome for the term Hail Mary, because if it wasn't for us, you know, they wouldn't be here. Just like I remind people when I talk about Michigan, I'm like, you know, Michigan's shaped like a mitten because that's where God put his hand to start world spinning. So you're welcome for everything that's going on in this world.
He put it there to start what?
The world spinning. Because it's shaped like a hand, and God put his hand there and went boop and started spinning the world.
I like that.
And then
we
brought, you know, Insane Clown Posse to the world. You know, if it wasn't for Michigan, you wouldn't have great things like this.
They grew up in Livonia, across the street from my sister Patty's house.
That's how we call it the LIV to make it sound more street. You
off
know?
Doris?
That's at least I do.
They off Doris and 7 Mile?
I don't know. I was at 5 on the bed. I didn't realize
the Clown Posse.
Oh, really?
No, I'm not kidding you.
It's funny.
That's where they were at.
I remember listening to them in high school, like in '94, and you see them everywhere, and kids talk. I'm like, it's funny. I'm like, I was there at the beginning, and like them. And I don't know if you ever
they're
heard.
Such weirdos.
I love that. Ever hear of a band called Guar? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Love those guys. So dress up like monsters, fight on stage, awesome. But there was our guys. I love them in 7th grade. And then over time, I ended up getting to meet them because you come to find out they're from Richmond, and they were huge football fans. Mm-hmm. And so they finished up one of their tours in Philly to. In the game we were going to play a football game that the next day after their concert. And so me and the assistant strength coach guy, Tom Kanabe, we just like, for lack of a better term, hoard ourselves out, dropping Eagles everywhere we could to get to them. And we got all the guys tickets, but they're all like awesome guys, just normal, down to earth guys. Crazy show. Took my kids. My daughter graduated from 6th grade in Catholic school. My son 4th grade, and I took him to go see Guar. And we got like passes where you wouldn't get shot with bodily fluids. But it's a great show.
It sounds pretty.
And Ben
crazy.
Herman, another CC guy, I think was like the state Michigan fan club for a little while for Guar. So yeah,
Really?
yeah. He's learning something new every day. There you go.
It sounds like you should have been in that movie, Doug.
Oh
I
my
don't
God!
know, man.
Yeah.
So, why Boston College? What was the experience like there?
I would have murdered somebody to go to Michigan. I was dying to go to Michigan,
yeah.
and went to their camp, went to awards 2 years, but just didn't. They already were loaded. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I didn't fit what they were looking for, and it's Michigan. You know what I mean? So came down to BC and Notre Dame, and Lou Holtz was there at the time.
2 Catholic schools.
Yeah, I love Joe Moore at Notre Dame because on the recruiting trip, you got in the back of his like old Buick. He's smoking a cigarette. He turns around. He's like, "Are you tough? If you're tough, I could do something with you. If you're not, you can't." And then, it was great school, but it just didn't feel like the right fit. I don't know how to describe it. But then at Boston College, Tom Coughlin was the head coach. And he came and he's like, "Listen, you got to go to school, you got to work hard, and then you might get a chance to compete. And that's all I'm going to promise you." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." Because at the time, I know I'm like a chubby white kid from Michigan, and some guys are like, "Oh, you could play O line, you could play D line," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I know where I'm going to be." And that's a part of it too. Is like I knew for me as a kid, I craved discipline and hard work and all this stuff that Coach Mack instilled, and you kind of got you where you wanted to go. And that's what he talked about was that. But as soon as I signed, he left and went to Jacksonville. We had Dan Henning for 3 years. He was good guy, but it just was a rough couple of years. And we had a guy, Tom O'Brien, my last 2 years there, who ended up coaching at UNC.
Was he Nebraska's coach for a while?
No, he was a Virginia.
Oh,
he was a
okay.
Virginia guy. He's a former he's a Naval Academy guy. And but he was great. He was like Lee Marvin from the Dirty Dozen. Like kind of looked similar, like same like dry sense of humor. You knew who was in charge, was a good guy, but that's the best way to describe him, was like Lee Marvin from the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah,
so he's awesome.
I can
Great leader.
picture that.
Yeah.
He was he in what's that movie where Cool Hand Luke? Was he?
Was
in
Lee
that?
Marvin in there?
I thought he
I
was.
think he might have been. I know Robert Redford? Yeah, it was Robert Redford, but
No, it was Paul Newman.
Paul, that's it.
But
Yeah.
I think he was the tough guy in that Lee
Yeah.
Marvin. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
was in it. They had one, it might have been him, but I love that movie.
Oh,
I don't
it's
care.
awesome.
That movie,
Yeah.
get your mind right.
I know. I try to I give like the kids at high school like homework. I'm like, you got to watch these movies: Cool Hand Luke, Conan the Barbarian, Tombstone. Like a RoboCop. It's some of that stuff. You got to get
Anything Tarantino.
Yeah, some of that. Terminator. You need to get some meathead in you.
Yeah.
But you got to still be smart about it.
Shaking the bush, boss.
That's right. Yeah. What's your dirt doing in Boss's Hole?
Get that mind right.
Yeah.
That was a good one. So, Mark Wahlberg, Invincible,
Yeah.
that was cool for Philly,
Right.
right? That was great
Right.
movie, fun to watch.
But I think they forgot to mention that the guy was an All-American in track and field in college.
Who was? Invincible. What
yeah.
Vince, whatever.
Papali. Yeah. He was a phenomenal athlete.
Oh.
And that's something where it's cool. Like there was open tryouts, and but it's like funny. You watch stories, you watch movies, and you know like the inside scoop of stuff. And I'm pretty sure he was an All-American track guy. So it's not like he was just somebody. He's obviously a great athlete.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a great story.
Doug, what was it like playing in the NFL?
It was cool. The best part was I didn't have to deal with email. Because you get out in the real world and people email you stuff. And I never really dealt with it before. And then you start seeing them play like the CC game. And I'm like, why are they putting this other people on this email? And you're like, oh, now they're making it my problem. So when the NFL, I didn't have to deal with that. If you didn't like your coworkers, you could just speak very directly to them. And sometimes you could punch them and it was okay. And, and the other thing too is
you can't do that with Medtronics.
You can't do that in a professional. That's frowned upon for some reason in polite society. And then
it solved a lot of problems. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, especially now you see some adults who never got punched in the face, and you're like, you think it's okay to act like this, and no, you can't do anything because it's too late, and you go to jail and you get in trouble. But I think every once in a while, everybody needs to get punched in the face every once in a while to just kind of realize, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Like, what was his name? Anthony Weiner or Weenie?
Oh, yeah.
And Schiff. You can tell the guys who haven't been. They needed to.
A lot of them live in the DC metro area. That's
They attract them
it's funny because
birds.
It's like in Philly. You live there and it's blue collar and somebody says, "Hey, screw you," but they're dropping F-bombs. And then in DC, they're like, "I'm going to sue you." But they're like very like this, and I don't remember, I love DC, I love where we live. I have a lot of great friends. But one of my first experiences was, I remember my wife had my daughter, she's young, we're pulling into a grocery store and I get out and there's a car next to me, like a Volvo type of car, and I get out of the car and my door accidentally hits the car next to me. Doesn't bang it, nothing bad. And I look, there's nothing wrong with it. So I go into the store, and I guess my wife's there was a lady in the car. The lady waited till I got in the grocery store, took her car, and went bam, bam, and slammed it in my car door and drove away.
Really?
But that's it's so that's some of it. But that's also too like when
that's
you get
good.
When you get into the history of like DC and Baltimore, it's cool. You got to look for it. But it's there. It's fun.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the wives, I don't think like it when we get a little excited about some of that stuff.
No,
when we do it,
they civilize us. It's like I told my kids, like if mom wasn't here, I don't think you go to school. We'd eat pizza every night. We'd have a TV, a black leather couch. The furniture would be egg crates. You'd have a job, but I don't know what else would be happening.
Yeah.
So
you were. A really game standout for you as far as anything at Philly, particularly. I know you played with Rodney Pete, the old.
Oh, that was he was in Carolina, so that was funny.
Oh, was it Carolina?
So it was funny playing with him in Carolina. It was like it's one of those things like in Philly it was Everett, Carolina it's Rodney Pete, and you're like that's Rodney Pete.
Yeah.
And then one time I was doing I'm practicing shotgun snaps, so I want to be a center, but Rodney Pete was catching me. He's like, off, and they're all perfect, but he's like messing with me. He's like, oh, this one's wrong, this one's bad. I'm like, God damn, I must suck, But and it's funny, like with the things that stand out from the NFL are not necessarily games, but little things. Like I remember the first game I played was a preseason game, rookie year, and I'm playing against John Randall, and I'm like, oh crap, and it's it's in Minnesota. I'm nervous. I tied my shoes too tight. I had spat in my shoes, so I'm running off the field after pregame warm-ups, and my feet are asleep because I tied my shoes too tight, and they're all taped up. And right when I get to the tunnel, my foot hits the turf, and I went like face planted right in front of all the crowd, everybody, like right there.
The good laugh. The crowd.
And then another one was this is afterwards. I was talking to my son in Little League football stuff. I'm like, a guy I played against I thought was great was a guy, Leroy Glover, played for the Cowboys, was all pro, played for the Saints for a little bit, but multiple moves, worked hard every play, was just a hard guy to play against. And we're watching his highlights, and then one of the highlights was of me giving up a sack to him. So
great.
That's my favorite stuff about football. And not to go into, but this is one of my favorite stories is in Carolina. This is Troy Aikman's doing color, and he's coming and saying hi to everybody. He's a great guy. He's like, hey, I remember you from Philly. And Strahan's a great guy too. He's like, oh, I remember you from Philly.
Yeah, he seems
like so anyway, we had this guy, Lewis Williams, who was a practice squad center, and we would bet him to do things. This guy, Todd Stussy, who was a tackle, goes to him. He's like, I'll give you $100, and you got to go up to Troy Aikman and say, Mr. Aikman, I'm a center. I'm a lifelong Cowboys fan. It's been a dream of mine for my life for you to take a snap for me. And this is where we have walkthrough uniforms on, so just jersey and shorts. And like, so Aikman will say, okay. He's like, but when you come back, all you have on, you say, I need to go get a football. But when you come back, all you have on is your helmet and jockstrap. And so he does it. And then Troy Aikman's, all right, cool. And then Lewis is like, I'm going to get a football. And then he comes back with just his helmet and jockstrap on with the football. Yeah. Without missing a beat, Troy Aikman's like, this one will be a shotgun snap. So
did he? Yeah, he was great.
He was great. It was funny.
Yeah. You got to have had a lot of great stuff like that.
Yeah, and another one was in Philly was great. It was great watching them. When I first got there, the team wasn't that great, but watching Andy Reid come in his first year and turn Philly into like what it is now, and obviously what they have going on there. But I remember we lost to Tampa in the NFC Championship game. The last game we're playing in Veterans Stadium. It's the last game ever in Veterans Stadium. We lose the game, and towards the end of the game, the Philadelphia riot cops come out, like ringing the field, and police on horseback. And I'm thinking we really might not make it out of here alive. Like this place is they don't need to hire a demolition crew because they're gonna tear this place apart.
Really?
And but it's awesome. That's the thing about Philly fans, the maniacs, like savage maniacs, and you love them. Like I don't know how to describe it, but they're awesome.
Well, you had to be a little torn here with Washington knocking Detroit out. Who do you root for?
Detroit, hands down.
Okay,
like I love the Lions. Yeah, the Lions now. Like
Hutchison.
Hutchinson, like
Love that.
and like so Hank Fraley, you know, the O-line coach.
Yeah.
Played with him in Philly. He's from the area where I live.
Oh,
Great guy. And it's just seeing like I can't tell you, the culture. It's like culture beats everything. Culture beats everything. And
Dan.
yeah, I forgot what there's a
Coach.
business guy said culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
And you watch them play, and when they played Washington, it killed me because you had all the Washington fans like, oh, it's been so long since we've had a championship, and but like, dude, we've never had one. And when they would complain about they've never had one,
Yeah, that's true,
All
man.
I heard in my head was the kid who was 16-year-old kid was like, no, Dad, I didn't want the 4 Series BMW, I wanted the 7 Series BMW, and it's just.
Irritating, isn't
yeah,
it?
but it's like they're a good team. But like the Lions, I love watching the Lions. Like they're. I tell you what, I like the Lions before. I love Chris Spielman, Barry Sanders,
Sure.
all those guys. Like Lomas Brown was at Glover, he was a center. I love those guys.
Benny Blades.
Oh yeah,
He was tough
all
guy.
those dudes.
Yeah. Alex Karras.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mongo.
He used to fight with Dick Butkus. You know, I mean, that's going way back.
But I love that stuff. I love watching. When I was a kid, I'd watch all the NFL films, like old stuff. I love like old football history. I had this thing next to my bed in high school I called the Pyramid of Power, and it was all these like old linemen. That was like, it's like a totem, you know. At the top was always Anthony Munoz, but the other guys would rotate around. You have John Hanna at guard at one of them. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys, like, you know, not Nate Noon, Larry Allen. But you had all these different guys, and it's like, I love learning where things come from. You know, you like to learn the history of football, and you know, Otto Graham, all these different guys. And I talk to these kids now about like, how about this play? And they mentioned a couple modern guys. I'm like, yeah, but you need to know. You feel like the old guy, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, you didn't know where this came from, you damn kids, you don't know it, you know. But it's funny. It's like it's not everybody's into it, but I love, you know, the history of all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had stopped over and had breakfast with Denny McClain.
Okay,
he's in town here.
Okay,
5 minutes, and we did a podcast with him for an hour, and it was. I don't know. There's something about his history is tough,
right.
and I don't want to say anything bad because I really like him a lot, and I believe in redemption.
Yeah,
he didn't kill anybody. He came close to stealing that money from Pete's Packing in Owasso. Right. Yeah, you know, you grew up there. You know, Jason. So that's hard, but we did it, and we held on to that. But I called him on the phone, and I kind of wanted to say, hey, Denny, why don't you just do this with me and say what you feel? Maybe get him on a weak moment or something.
Right.
And I called him, and I said, what do you want? Well, I'm going to grab breakfast. You want to go out? He said, no, you stop at McDonald's and get me an Egg McMuffin. Right. I said, what do you want on it? Sausage. Okay. I get there. You want milk or no? I'll have the potato. So I take it over to him. This is a week and a half ago. So I show up at his condo, and he's always really nice to me. And I sat there with him just talking. He doesn't have anyone around. There's no one around. The times I've visited there, I know he's got family. They're out of state.
Right.
So you go to the condo, you sit down, and I'm just having breakfast with him. And Doug, it just occurred to me, just, you know, don't be crazy. Don't ask him for any. Let's have a good breakfast together. Yeah. Let's just have a nice breakfast. Yeah. And we did. And, you know, I pat him on the shoulder going out, and he said, hey, Ron, you want my book here? I go, yeah, I'll take your book. Thank you. And, you know, he's a generous guy, and it's just interesting. You know, some of the people you meet. And
I feel it's like, you know, it's one of those things like you're younger. You think you know what is, and you realize you don't know. Then you get a little bit older, and you think you know what is, and you realize you don't know. And so it's something where I realize I really have no idea what's going on in this world. I just try to do the next right thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's nobody's perfect. You know, it all goes back to, you know, the Bible with cast the first stone thing. You know, I think anybody can reflect back on their lives and moments where they were like a razor's edge away from something going sideways, and maybe they didn't have bad intentions, but it's like a series of events that led to something where you lucked out on it. And sometimes people don't. And, you know, sometimes people make bad decisions. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, if people own up to what they do and they kind of genuinely, you know, try to make amends and do what's right, you know, I think it's just part of life, you know, and I think that's and then not to get back to coaching, but that's something too where I like to, coach kids because everybody talks about being perfect and how to do these things. And I tell these kids, I'm like, listen, I'm here to teach you from all my fuck ups. Like, pardon my French, but like, I'm trying to save you from years of therapy. Because I remember like losing to Toledo St. John's, the one game we lost senior year. We didn't make the state playoffs. We didn't beat every team in Michigan, lost to a team from Ohio, didn't make the playoffs. And the pros like screwing up a play here, doing this there, in the offseason, being lazy, doing this or doing that, or whatever it is. And all your collection of screw ups aren't really any good until you can go back and talk to other kids or help somebody out with it. And, I'll try to tell them like, this is where I did things right. This is where I did things wrong. This is where what I do something different. I'm like, or you could do it your way, like I did it. And you'll end up here, a 49-year-old guy trying to share with somebody. But as long as you keep going back and trying to help people, it's, I mean, that's, to me, that's what really ties in coaching. Cause I feel like nobody leaves football happy for the most part. And everybody somewhere along their lives screws up something, does something wrong. But if you're open and able to share people with them in the right situation, that's how people learn, because everybody wants to present, especially with like social media and things like the perfect thing. And I always said, everybody's got frozen cat heads in their freezer. And what I mean by that, everybody's got some crazy with them. If you share you're a little bit of your crazy with somebody else, like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just not alone anymore.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Exactly.
Justin Cesante, it relates a lot to what we're talking about here. We had done a show on the day before Halloween. We did it on Halloween, and they were 9-0 or 8-0, and they were flying high, and he was excited, and he was fun to have there.
Right.
And then he went around, and now he's undefeated. He's 11-0, and he's playing Cass Tech, and if they win there, they're going to play for the state championship.
Yep.
I love Justin, but I'd say, like, as an old guy, the 68-year-old guy in me was talking to, he's 40.
He's 5 years younger than me, so 44.
Okay.
Yeah.
68 guy talking to the 44. There's a lot of water under the bridge here. And I talked with him after the loss to Cass Tech, and it was a week or two after, and it broke my heart. He was really struggling. And there were, I'm not going to talk about calls or anything, but you can say there was this or that. It was weird how the game ended.
Right.
However, my heart was like bleeding for him. This was a week and a half, 10 days. The pressure that's put on that program and in all high school coaches are under pressure.
Yeah.
That's just a maybe higher level of pressure that you see. We had to edit his show 6 times.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Oh, yeah.
I was the one saying, he didn't care. But I'm going, that Justin, that stuff you're talking about, Cullen Finnerty, and you guys driving out to Denver. Let's push this. Let's push this.
It's funny because it's, when you get into coaching, you're a level removed from control, right? And you think you're a coach and you are all control of different stuff, but you're a level removed from doing stuff. And you're trying to impart your knowledge and your intention and what you want people to do into other people that are doing it. And so how do you communicate with them and how do you do this stuff? And as a coach, like, I know I coach the little kids and I coach high school and I tell you what, like with the little kid football, I come back, like, what can I do better? Because it's something where, they're kids, it's and I'm like, how do I make this, what do I need to do to help them get where they need to go? And you take stuff a lot harder as a coach because like, oh, this one time, maybe if I would have been a little bit harder on this, or if I would explain this a little bit differently. And it hits a little bit different. Like with a player, at least you got a place to put it. And don't get me wrong, it's like I've lost games where you're heartbroken and crushed and things like that. But as a player, you got somewhere to put it. As a coach, the only place you got to put it is like in your stomach. So that's nuts. And that's the thing that with coaching too is, it's like I have kids and I watch their sports. And I always feel like if I feel like I should be critical of somebody, maybe I should do something. And if I'm not doing or helping, then I don't really have anything to say. And that's something where, I could imagine not being from around here, but I could imagine the pressure he's under. Everybody Monday morning quarterbacks, so you should do this or do that, and we'll do this. Like,
Or, hey, Johnny's not playing. Why isn't Johnny on the field?
Oh my God!
You know, that sort of.
Well, that sort of stuff too with parents. That's my favorite. I love that stuff. I love it. I'm like, it's like, I get a kick out of it. It's but that's the thing too. Is like he got him there. Like he got him there. He got those kids there. He did that stuff. And I tell you what, like nobody takes it harder than he does on it. And if you can do a better job, then do it. It's something where I have the answers to everybody else's problems. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to my own life, I know that's different. That's off limits.
Right.
And so that's the way I kind of look at coaching. Is if I feel the same way, then maybe I should get out there and coach. And that's what kind of made me want to do it. And but I love the parent stuff. Oh, I tell you what, it's like I know it's part of my character defects.
No, most people don't.
Oh, I get
most
a kick out of it. I get a
don't
kick
like
out
that.
of it. It's
I can't talk to me the next day. The game we played, you got to wait 24-hour rule.
Yeah, I did it 20. But the
right.
funny thing with parents, and also it's part of me being a parent too, where I remember my son's very first pitch baseball game. He's like maybe 10 years old, and I tell you what, I was more nervous for that than anything else. And then I kind of reflected, like, why was I so nervous? And it's like a hard truth, but you feel, at least for me, you feel like your kids make up for your own regrets and failures. And I think that when parents, and I'll see it because parents will put a lot of pressure on kids, and don't get me wrong, kids need to be pushed, they need to be guided. But I feel like when you reflect on what are we really doing here, it's like it's their journey. It's their journey. They need to guide them and coach them. But it's not yours, and that's where you see a lot of that with sports. Like so and so should be playing. Dad, why don't I do this? And a lot of times too with parents, I'm like, well, were you on time every time? Did they show up to everything? Did they do all like you start with the day one stuff? Like, did you do those things? And 9 times out of 10, they didn't do that stuff. They're like, what's different? So you don't see they do. And don't get me wrong. It's funny as a coach, like. There's no conspiracy out there of like, especially football. You want the best guys to play because it's not like like baseball or something else where if somebody's not doing their job, somebody else is going to get hurt. It's a binary function. You either like beat the crap out of the guy in front of you or you didn't, and the coaches want the best players out there. And it's something where I'm sure Coach Mack dealt with it a lot. And I think that Justin probably deals with it 10 times more just because of the nature of, society today where, you want your kids to do well and you want them to be successful, but you got to realize like he's looking out for the whole. He's looking out for how do we make this team better, and I think, and as a parent, it's hard, but you get myopic. You just see your kid, you see the other kid who your kids are competing against, and you see all the things that your kid does well, but you see all the things your kid doesn't do right. But what you don't see are those little interactions in the locker room, like when that person is out there, just by them being out there, do they make things better? Maybe some things he doesn't do physically as well, but if the one kid who is maybe more physically talented but isn't where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there, does he have a bad attitude? Does he bring the huddle down? Those are all these tiny little things that as a parent you're not really privy to. So I kind of it's part of that was just from evaluating my own feelings with my own kids and watching them play sports. So if I'm not coaching them, the only thing I get mad at my kids is if they don't hustle and if they have a bad attitude towards the coach and they have like poor body language and sportsmanship. Other than that, man, who cares?
Yeah.
But when and it's the same thing when I'm coaching kids. Like people make mistakes. I didn't know anything about football. It was a lot to learn. But the one thing like the things I don't compromise are attitude and effort. You can show up on time. On time means early. You could have your stuff. Like we had a kid last year in little kid football. And these kids are in 7th grade, and he forgot his shoulder pads. He's like, my mom forgot my shoulder pads. And I didn't say I lost it because you can't lose it on a 13-year-old kid. I'm like, listen, your mom isn't out here. This is not your mom's job. Like, does your mom, like, you're going to go somewhere in life. Like, did your mom still cut your food for you? Does your mom still put your food in your mouth? Like this is you playing. Like, if your mom was playing, fine. I'd yell at your mom for forgetting your shoulder pads, but it's your shoulder pads. And I think one time my son was little, he forgot cleats to a game, and I'm like, you're playing in Crocs. I don't care. You're going to this. Like, I think we were talking before. Everything I learned is I was seared in my mind by fear, embarrassment, and regret. And I'm like, you're never going to forget your cleats, are you? Because you went out there and played in Crocs.
No, never forgot.
No, he's on point. He's always early, and I'm very fortunate with like my kids because that's, he's good with that. He keeps me on time, and they both, So, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's my favorite thing is watching parents. I love it.
No, it's special. Doug, I'm gonna hit you with one because we're kind of winding down.
Okay.
So when the final curtain comes down, Sorry to
No,
get
it's all right.
serious,
Yeah, it's okay.
but it's going to get, I'll just
Yeah.
ask you seriously. What would you like people to think and say about you?
So, I want him to say that my life was better for him being in it. The way I look at life is like you kind of think about like people as boats, so to speak. A boat leaves a wake. And when people leave and enter rooms, when somebody comes in a room, they're like, Jesus, and then they leave, you don't feel better. And getting older, you reflect on life and things going by. There's people that were in my life that made my life better. And you just want, whether it doesn't matter who it is or wherever it is, you want like just because that person was on this planet for however short they were here, that they somehow made my life better. And that's really all I'm shooting for, because it's really all we got.
Well, that perfection thing you were talking about for sports and all that, I'm getting that. And the final thoughts, I would say, because I'm just going to say it, by everything by the grace of God.
100%.
Because
It's 100%. Yeah.
Really.
Oh yeah.
Really, because I
Yeah.
just had this paralyzed guy, Frank Erling, in here last week in
Yeah.
the studio on Grand River.
Yeah.
And he woke up and fell over one day. And from the, I can't feel anything from the neck down.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to finish his quick story. Finish on him. So this was July of 2015. I'm going to go out to Commerce Lake and I'm going to watch him ski. He barefoot skis on Commerce Lake in July of this year. So in 10 years, he went from being paralyzed, being told he'd never walk, never move anything.
Right.
But he did this.
Right. Wow.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, that's all by the grace of God. And that's your worst nightmare.
Oh yeah.
But wake up and
100.
Nothing works.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things too. I don't know if it's getting older, but you realize how little control you have with everything and how fortunate you are to just be alive, to be in this world at the time, to have these things. And again, coaching kids, I tell them, like, did you choose to be born? Did you choose to have the gifts you were given? It's not like when you were in heaven someplace and you're on some character builder screen of like, this is what I want to show up as. You showed up with what you got. And you don't choose to come in, and you can choose to go out, but it's not, you don't really choose to come in, you don't choose to go out. What do you got at the time that you're here? And it's something where you just want to make the most of what you got, and not for you, because all the stuff for yourself ends up being just involutionary. It's like, how do I make someone else's life better? Because that's the one that carries on. It keeps like piggybacking down the road.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know how many years you've been married, but 45 years, we've been lucky. I mean,
I think 20 years.
20.
It's a great institution. It's a great institution.
It is.
I joke with my wife. I was like, it's like in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where people are picking up the chalice, and the one's like, you chose poorly.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have her in my life. I don't know where I'd be.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I'm gonna. We've got one more thing to do, and we'll wrap it up. All right.
Sure.
All right, Jess Pickle time. We do this every time, and just one rule on this is Doug Brzezinski. He's Polish, so I think he's gonna like these. You like Polish?
Oh yeah.
Pickles.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, garlic dill 722.24.
Awesome.
1 to 10, Doug.
All right,
That's it.
I got to open it myself. It's like,
excuse me.
It's slippery.
They're hard to open.
Yeah.
Melfar Jr. couldn't open it. We were down. You know Melfar?
Melfar Superstar.
His son.
Oh,
he played for UCLA. He was roommates with Mark Messner.
Oh, I didn't know
UCLA.
that.
Nobody does.
I can't open it.
Oh, get this. This is on camera,
right? I know.
So, were you the water boy in the NFL?
I was. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. It was slippery. It's just, yeah. I saw you tighten it back there before.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't tighten it that tight.
Yeah. It's like, had a torque wrench on there. Those are good.
You like them?
Those are awesome.
They have a little bite. Now, we have garlic dill jalapeno asparagus.
I love pickles.
10 minutes over to my house. Those are yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And what are we rating them? Have that bite first.
So, like, what are we going for? Christmas texture, like, overall?
Just, whatever.
I think they're 10 pickles, because they're clean, they're nice. There's flavor to them, but you don't have like a, like a sodium overload. You know how some of the ones you'll buy, like say, what are the Dave's hot pickles?
Mhm.
They're all those different things. I'll buy them all over the place, and they're good. But it's a clean. You can still tell there's a cucumber in there, but it's a pickle. Do you know what I mean? Like a clean finish.
Yeah, yeah. I
body.
mean, and they're a year old. And Jerry Zidane at Schumacher Zidane Dental Lab at 12 in Orchard Lake, his grandpa gave me the recipe.
Okay,
So the recipe's 100 years old. We've been doing them for 20 years.
that's cool. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
preservatives other than the salt, the iodized salt, and the
Formaldehyde.
good vinegar. I want to do a podcast with Doug.
I know.
That's what I want. I mean,
Anytime. I love doing this stuff.
all right. Well,
That's fun.
are you good?
I'm great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much. I had a blast.
Me too. And tell Joe Walsh I said hello.
I will.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Doug.
Awesome.
That was cool.
Thanks.